Good morning, guys. It's Wednesday morning. Yours truly, the ruthless Elle Dawson. And by very, very popular demand, we are live this morning with Francis Marshall following UFC 313. How you doing, Francis?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to see you smiling. Happy to see you in good spirits. I guess the first thing I want to ask you is just, now that there's been a little bit of time, it's kind of set in, and this is really your first formal appearance since your fight on Saturday. Like, just how are you feeling now that it's kind of worn off?
Good. Not great, but good. Obviously a little bit disappointed, but it's at the end of the day, it's not much I can do about it now. So kind of just trying to roll with it, see where I made improvements, see what improvements I can make from here, and try to prevent that from happening again.
Of course, yeah. I mean, like you said, not much you can do. I definitely want to hear from you. Just like, kind of, obviously the public response from the MMA community has been pretty overwhelming. I have yet to see really anybody not supporting you in this fight and thinking that you won this decision, or you should have won this decision. Has anybody from the UFC reached out? Have you had a chance to hear any justification from either of these judges?
No justification. Which I think is pretty standard. I feel like they're not really held accountable usually for their wrongdoing. It's not like I'm not the first person it's ever happened to. I'm sure there's going to be plenty after me, and I don't think anything will happen to the judge in the future, which is kind of a shame. I think they should be held more accountable, or at least have to have some type of statement as to their reasoning behind when they have poor decisions.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to hear from anybody in the UFC, the staff? Has anybody like given you at least some what's the word I'm looking for? Some kind of consolation following this?
Yeah, one UFC staff member kind of reached out, so that was nice to hear from him, and it helps kind of the sting, but it's just not the same.
I know a lot of people were hopeful that you might receive like your win bonus. I'm assuming nothing like that happened, or you probably would have said something.
Yeah, nothing like that happened so far, but I mean, it is what it is. I'm not gonna beg for it. I mean, at the end of the day, I didn't win, so do I really deserve a win bonus? It's like would be nice, but it's not something I'm banking on.
Of course. I mean, you were all class in your post fights post on Instagram. Took full accountability despite the poor judging, and I would like to just get your thoughts now. I'm sure you've watched your fight several times by now. When you talked about, I could have done more. There's things I need to improve on. What specifically have you seen looking back on the fight now where you feel like maybe you could have pulled the trigger more or done more in the fight?
I think just more openings where I could have shot a takedown, could have taken him down earlier. Just more openings on top where I could have rode him out or tried to advance position a little bit, especially in the third round. Maybe tried to put more damage in on top at the end of the third. That might have helped. But just like stuff like that, pulling the trigger with the takedowns, pulling the trigger. Maybe I should have went back to that overhand a couple more times that landed in the first round. Throwing there's some opportunities. I know Anderson was calling for an uppercut, and then I wasn't throwing it. I was still going straight down the middle. So maybe I throw an upper, it lands good, and get a clean shot and changes the judge's perspective. But just all things to kind of learn from and move on for the next fight.
And give yourself some credit too. You had some fantastic moments in this fight, of course. And overall, I think it was a really solid performance. And so did the commentary team. We've heard from a lot of people. You almost finished him in the first. I hurt him pretty badly. So definitely give yourself credit where credit is due. I know you've in the moment you thought you had won the fight. Were you super confident as you were going into the scorecards and then hearing that the decision was split? Were you like incredibly shocked, or did you feel like the fight was close-ish?
I was pretty confident that I won right after the fight. I had forgotten that I took him down in the second round. and like rode him out for, I think it was like a minute and 30, and he got away with like 15 seconds left. I forgot that happened in the second round. So after the third, I went up. I think it was either Grant or Mike, and I was like, I think we stole that round back. Like, I think I won that round. I probably won the fight. So I was thinking in my head it was 2-1 only instead of 3-0. And then when he came in with the scorecards, the first judge, he called it 30-27. I was like, okay, it's gonna be a split, but there's no way one judge has me winning 3-0 and the other two judges give it to him. There's just not possible. It wasn't like that close. One judge maybe messed up. So going into the last judge announcing his score, I was pretty confident that I was going to win. And then when he said Myron's name, I was kind of just in shock.
Did you, when you went back to watch the fight, did you feel like it was any closer than you felt in the moment, or did that kind of solidify your confidence that you should have won?
It kind of solidified it. I thought it was, kind of the same. We both were landing shots, striking. If anything, I felt like he landed some clean shots, but I feel like I landed a couple more cleaner ones maybe, or like just like better punches. We were both kind of going back and forth. I think on the feet was pretty even, and then I think the takedowns should have overcame that maybe, but who knows?
Absolutely. And he obviously in the moment, I'll never fault a fighter for owning his win and being confident that he won, especially in the moment on the mic. Directly after the fight, your opponent Myron Santos was very critical of the judge that scored the fight for you, and since then said he has watched the fight back and did another interview following that and felt like you should have won the fight and the wrong guy got his hand raised. Does that, like, how do you feel following just kind of seeing his development over that period?
I mean, I guess the heat of the moment, like you said, he just gets what he remembers from the fight. Like same thing as me right after the fight. You just get what kind of you remember. And obviously you're definitely biased towards yourself. So like, you feel like you were landing the cleaner shots and maybe nothing was really happening, or maybe you didn't realize that I was landing as good of punches or kicks. And maybe he didn't realize that he got rode out for a minute and a half. Maybe he thought it was just like quick and then we were back on the feet.
Right.
Kind of sometimes it's like just like a blur. So I'm sure he had a ton of confidence going in, and then the boos didn't help that. Like everyone was booing him in the arena. So he's probably a little bit pissed off or frustrated about that, which understandable, but just evolving from that and then admitting that whatever he thinks I won the fight it takes a lot. It's pretty big on his part to come out and say something like that publicly. I'm sure a lot of guys think it after a fight like that, but not many people actually come out and say it.
Right. We can beat this dead horse all day, so I don't want to dwell on it too much longer. I know that people want to hear your thoughts following the fight. Obviously, you seem in good spirits. And guys, if you have other questions for Francis Marshall, please drop them in the comment section. I see you watching. Say things to Francis. But let's throw this up here real quick, and then we can move on from this. So, like you said, like at the time you thought it was 2-1. A couple people agreed, but the vast majority was really heavily sitting on that 30-27 scorecard that we saw. And the commentary team, I believe, also was very sided with you winning all 3 rounds. And beyond that, the commentary team was quite complimentary of your performance. I heard DC, I love to hear Grant getting compliments as well when I'm watching fights, but DC was, really complimentary of Grant's cornering, Mike Brown, of course, and of your performance overall. And the way you were utilizing your calf kicks, the way you were utilizing your wrestling. Where do you feel like your best moments were in the fight?
I think my best moments could obviously say the stand up, because I knocked him down, landed some good shots, but I also think it was mixed in with the wrestling, just being able to work a lot of the feints that we were working on, and just mixing it up, feint 1-2, feint, hook cross, like just mixing all those combinations together. And then eventually, like, I think I watched it and the 2 takedowns I got, I don't even know if I made contact before. I think it was just off of feint and just under, getting his hands up and, really selling those fakes. And then just the improved riding, like when I took him down in the second round, being able to hold on top for a minute and a half, kind of work some mat returns that we've been working on the past 8 weeks. Is just, it was great just seeing all the improvement, and knowing that like all the work you've done kind of is showing here, because in the gym it's so hard to see the development.
Yeah, no, 100%, especially in a room like American Top Team where literally everybody's a certified killer. So it's great to see that come to fruition for you. And I, like you brought up the feints, and that's something I think you did so beautifully in the first round, and you could see Santos just biting on absolutely everything early in the fight. Like he would just everything, he's swatting at flies, and I definitely think you got away from that a little bit in the second and third round. I'm not sure if it was just, the heat of the fight, a little bit of like you slow 10 people tend to slow down over the fight, but I thought your cardio overall obviously looked great too. Odd Smoker said legalized robbery, definitely your fight. Odd Smoker, did you have some money on Francis that night as well? I'm always curious to see who was betting and whatnot, because when the odds closed as well, I don't know if you saw the live odds. I think you closed on some people's books at like a minus 1,300 favorite. Yeah. And like Vegas doesn't always open correctly, but they very rarely close incorrectly on the odds. So imagine if you'd put money on Santos in that at the end of that fight.
Made out pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. People may have, after the first fight of the night, I wanted to know as well, like there's more than one fight where people were questioning the judges' decisions. That first fight of the night between Santos and Leal, or not Leal, sorry, Santos and Diaz. Santos and Diaz are right before your fight. I don't know if you obviously didn't watch the fight in the moment because you were in the back getting ready, but did you go back and watch that fight as well?
I haven't. I only saw like clips of it, not clips, but like parts here and there when we were warming up. And then obviously saw the guy win, and it was like a big underdog too, I think, that won. And then I heard a lot of controversy after saying that it was the wrong guy and whatnot.
And before I give my thoughts on this, there was also a lot of people complaining about the main event decision. Did you were you in good enough spirits to enjoy that fight later that night? Or
I didn't see much of it. Now, maybe like a couple parts, bits and pieces, but not. I haven't seen the whole thing.
No, what I said on the Tuesday show yesterday is I feel like people were using the bad decision in your fight as an excuse to criticize Poatan losing, because I personally didn't see it. So I definitely am interested to hear your thoughts on that if you do end up watching that fight. But yes, SG, we actually just spoke about this at the beginning of the interview, if you want to go back and listen to it. But yeah, Bloody Elbow had Myron on, and he was very, very apologetic. I feel like he had a really, really good attitude now following it. Maybe not so much initially, but you can't fault the fighter for having confidence in themselves in the moment, of course, especially when they're getting booed. That's never fun, like Francis brought up. But yeah, I don't think yours was the only issue. Do you have any? Wow, I didn't see this. Definitely rode with Francis for that one. Saw one book had you close to minus 6,000 live as a favorite. So yeah, the odds definitely did not agree with the decision from what I've seen. What are some ways that you would make adjustments for judges? Like, what are ways you feel like they can be held accountable or be in a better position to make better decisions?
I mean, I think maybe giving them like I don't know if they take courses to take, or they have what certifications they need to become a judge. I remember it used to just be like a bunch of boxing judges, I think, came over. I don't know if that's still the case. I think it evolved a little bit, but I really think having former fighters in there would make a difference, because sometimes you get a judge that doesn't know much about wrestling or doesn't know anything about jiu-jitsu. Like they see grappling on the ground. It's like a different sport to them, and they can't score that. So they don't really count anything. And then when they get back to the feet, maybe the guy lands one punch, a good shot, and they're like, okay, that guy won the round. So I think just having like former fighters that would be like interested in it, or having these people take like a class or multiple classes and having to get recertified every so often to keep up with their cert, to judge fights, just to make sure they're on point with what they're looking at, and they're all kind of in agreement. And maybe even have 5 judges to get more like more perspectives. So I think more judges might take away from bad decisions. But I think there's a bunch of different things they can do. Will they do it? I'm not sure, but to hold them accountable, I think you could, I don't know, suspend them, fine them. If it's like that, I mean, it's hard because you're judging the moment. So to be like, okay, I'm gonna whatever fine you for doing a bad job on this probably wouldn't really be fair to them, I guess.
What are your thoughts on open scoring? Are you a big proponent of that?
I like open scoring. I would be okay with open scoring, just because you look at every other sport too. That's like having a wrestling match and going into the third period and being like, "Well, am I winning or am I losing? I don't know. Let's find out at the end." Or like a football game, you're going into the second half and you don't know the score. I think it's open scoring. I don't think is a bad thing because the judges are supposed to be doing it in real time, so they should have their scores by the end of the round and put that up.
And to that effect, had you known going into the even just the I guess they had you losing the second and the third round, correct?
Mm.
Obviously not the first. You dropped the guy. So if going into the third round, you had known that you were losing on the judges' scorecards after or you lost the second round on the judges' scorecards, how would you have made adjustments in the third? Like, how would you have fought the third round differently if
I
you?
probably would have shot way sooner and advanced position more on top, I guess maybe, or you just kind of it's hard to say because like when you're in the fight, it's like he's throwing counters and he's making you think more. Looking back is way easier, but I think even for him, he would have known it was going 1-1. It probably would have been tougher for me to get. Like he probably would have been throwing harder and coming forward a lot more, and I maybe would have been working harder for a takedown earlier, or throwing more volume at him and working more forward pressure. So I think just overall fights being 1-1 going into the third round with open scoring could be a lot more exciting.
I don't disagree with you. People usually make the argument that, well, if they know they're up 2 rounds, they'll just coast the third. But it's like, but the other fighter's going to be going
Yeah.
heavy pressure balls to the wall, especially if it's a close-ish fight. Like if they know they're down 2 rounds. So I think it only produces better results and better fights and better. It allows you to be a better athlete, in my opinion.
And usually, if you're up 2 rounds and you're up 2 rounds, I don't think it's gonna make a difference if you can see the score or not. And if you want to flee, you're gonna kind of run around and flee. So I think it'll make more exciting fights. And a lot of the guys aren't just gonna run away if they're up two. They want to, not get booed and called boring and make it look like they're not trying. They kind of still want to fight and dominate and win. If I could dominate 3 rounds, I want to dominate 3 rounds. I don't want to win two and then lose the third and coast just because I can.
Right. No, 100%. With this performance in your past now, like you said, you're moving on to what's next. There's nothing we can do about it now. Is there a specific fight you would like next? Is there something you want to show specifically next time you get into the octagon?
No specific fight. I just want to, keep showing the improvements that I'm able to make and the gains that I've been able to make in this past fight camp and then the time before that. I think every fight's just gonna keep getting better and better. And training with this team and having these coaches with me has just made a phenomenal difference.
Hey, can you see the comments on the screen? Because I think I'm just going to leave this one up.
I like that one.
A little romance here. Sorry, I was mostly paying attention to Grant's comments. I know that there's a lot of exciting things happening in the division right now. Shepe Mariscal just had a big win at 145. You have obviously the title is now vacant. You have Diego Lopez fighting for the belt, which I don't think a lot of people expected this soon necessarily. Just your thoughts on the division overall, how lucrative it is and what it could look like in the next year. Do you see a changing of the guard with the belt, or do you think Volkanovski regains his title?
I'm not sure. I think it's going to be a super tough fight. I think it's going to be very competitive and close. It's like you got to think is Volk's chin gone? Is it still there? Like 2 back-to-back knockout losses. I mean, with one being on 11 days notice and the other one kind of bouncing back pretty quick, it's like good to see that he took a lot of time off. He's probably healed, recovered well. I'm sure he's going to go in there and have a tough fight. But Diego is no joke either. It hits hard, good in the pocket. If he sits down on punches and clips him, I think it doesn't matter if he's fully recovered or not. It's going to do damage and hurt. So I think just a lot of movement for Volk might help. But if he gets sucked into standing in the pocket, I think it's going to be a better night for Diego.
Yeah, no, great assessment there. There's another really exciting featherweight fight coming up as well. You have former Bellator champion Pitbull coming over to fight Yair Rodriguez. How do you think he will do in the UFC? I think he's 37?
7 or 38.
Yeah,
He's
a little bit older coming over.
Yeah, a little bit older, which I think is tougher. If he came over 5 years ago, I think he would have done a lot better. I mean, Yair's a tough fight for your first fight, but he's also fought a ton of guys with a ton of experience and high level. So I think it's going to be competitive, but maybe the range of Yair just keeps him away more and he's able to control distance and land the cleaner strikes. But that should be a super fun fight. I'm really looking for that. Whole card is pretty much looking forward to. There's like 5 or 6 good featherweight fights on there.
Yeah, quite a few actually. I think Shepe Mariscal actually, shortly after we interviewed him, he realized, he was like, "Oh, I'm just here. Let me know if you guys need any replacements." Is that too soon for you to want to be a short notice replacement for that card?
Maybe a little bit, yeah. That's only 4 weeks away. I don't know if I want to make weight again. It's kind of close.
It's pretty quick. How is your cut to 145?
It's normal, not too bad. It sucks, obviously, but probably doesn't suck worse than some other guys. I mean, usually the morning of, I did 3 pounds this time, but it's like that last 3 takes as long as the first 8. So That's the shitty part.
No, 100%. SG has a great comment. Francis versus Nathaniel Wood seems like a fun fight. He's actually fighting
next
weekend, so that you guys might be ready around the same time. Is that a fight that interests you?
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. Anybody they put in front of me, I'll sign the contract. I'm not saying no to nobody. I mean, I train with a ton of great guys, got a ton of great coaches that could prepare me for any fight. So I'll be ready for whoever.
100%. Troy says, "Why is Francis so calm? He needs to be angry at the world."
Nothing to be angry about. Gotta relax.
With these featherweight fights coming up, like, let's just play a little bit of who wins in your opinion. If you want to, if these are all fighters that you're familiar with, but so the first one coming up, you have Nathaniel Wood and Morgan Charest. Who's your pick in that?
I think Nathaniel Wood.
I would think so as well. I think he's going to be a little bit more active. He's got really heavy volume.
Yeah, I think Charest hits a little harder. But since Wood moved up to 45, he's been doing pretty well.
Yeah. Let's see what's coming up after that. I'm trying to find that. Where's that card that has all the featherweights? Ooh, and then you have a featherweight main event in, I think, 2 or 3 weeks with Josh Emmett and Lerone Murphy. Murphy's been on fire.
I'll probably go Murphy on that one. If Emmett could connect, though, that's the toughest part. If he connects with one good shot, the fight's over. But I think Lerone is maybe a little bit more technical. But that's at the Apex, right?
I actually think it is.
Yeah, so small cage, it might not really matter.
Yeah.
I'll go with Lerone.
Yeah. He's such a complete fighter. Yeah. I think Lerone Murphy has very few holes in his game.
No, he's very good.
Good. All right, so let's hit this card that has all the featherweight fights on it. We've got, let's see. Let's see. It's not even split up yet. I was going to say we have Dan Ige and Sean Woodson fighting.
Wow, that's a tough one to pick.
That's going to be really
Woodson's got a lot of momentum right now. I think he's won his last 4 maybe or more. He seems like he's rolling pretty good. So I'll go with Sean Woodson.
I think I expect them to, they're both great boxers. I think that's going to be really fun to watch. Obviously the fight that everybody's waiting for is Bryce Mitchell versus Jean Silva.
John Silva. I think he might knock out Bryce Mitchell. But
John Silva by murder.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Tough one for Bryce.
This is I don't know if you know these guys. Alberto Montes versus Roberto Romero is on this card as well.
Don't know them.
Not super familiar with these guys either. I think they're
But I'm
both.
going to go with Alberto because I like his name better.
Is that like his name? Darren Elkins versus Juliana Rosa is a fight I'm actually super excited for. These guys are both like just dogs in the cage.
I think Elkins, Darren Elkins, I'll go with that one.
Yeah, just by
Just
super toughness.
Yeah, just by toughness. He's hard to finish and put away. I think he's always going to be in your face. So I think he'll come away with a decision.
All right, so now we talked about the fights, but you didn't have to officially give us your picks. Your picks on Yair Rodriguez versus Patricio Pitbull.
I got Yair on that one.
I got Yair as well. And then that main event, Alexander Volkanovski and Diego Lopez.
Ooh. That's so tough to pick. It's like a coin flip, I feel like, for me. It's like if Volk stands in the pocket, I think Diego wins. If Volk has more movement and is able to wrestle a little bit more, I think he might win. But Volk's 36 now? So I think I'm gonna have to go with Diego. Controversial, but I wouldn't be surprised if Volk won too. It's gonna be a tough fight, but I think I'm gonna have to go with Diego.
I'm assuming you'll be back in Florida by then.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll actually get Francis to leave his house and come over and watch the fights with us that day. They're in Miami, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they are.
But I don't know if we'll get tickets. I don't think Grant's ever gotten tickets to an event he's asked for tickets to.
I never do.
Darren Elkins. I just said Delkin Aarons. Darren Elkins by Pure Damage. I mean, we missed some comments. I'll pull them up and then we'll let you get out of here. Patty the Batty versus Michael Chandler, please.
Ooh.
What's your pick?
Oh man. I think Patty's gonna win. I think he's got a lot of momentum on his side. It's only a 3-rounder, right? I think.
Yeah. It's 3. I'm
yeah.
sure. I can't imagine they would make that fight a 5-rounder. That's not good for either guy.
No. I mean, power will kind of fall off, but I think Patty will win.
I think Chandler will have good moments and then make bad decisions. It's kind of my thought process of that. Apparently 70% of the time the younger fighter wins. 39 years. Is Chandler really 39?
No way. 39?
Really that old? That can't be right. I'm going to look that up. You might be right there, Choi. Hang on. I didn't know he was that old.
Wish I looked like that when I'm 39.
I don't think he's 39. He's 38. Wow. And in April, he'll be 39.
No way.
Wow. April 24th. So 2 weeks after the fight, but still. I did not realize he was that old. Grant versus Chandler would be a banger. We all agree. We all want that fight to happen, but I don't think
pretty lopsided fight.
I agree. Cutting 3 pounds on the day doesn't seem that bad. Would you be interested in fighting at bantamweight?
If you chop off one of my legs, I'll fight at bantamweight. That last 3 pounds is the worst. I think that took just as long as the first 7 that we did the day before, or 8, whatever it was. So no.
The last few are the worst. And I think people are forgetting too. Don't forget, UFC weigh-ins start at 9 a.m., not 5 p.m. like a regional show. So
it sucks.
We have what's it like training with Kurt Pellegrino?
It was great. It was good. He was a good coach. A lot of knowledge, good grappling, and sometimes kind of funny, but I don't want to give him too much credit.
You're an ATT guy now.
Yeah.
Van. We got we interviewed Joshua Van yesterday. We've got Joshua Van fans in the comments today. Now you guys are Francis Marshall fans. I don't know what you're saying, Jake. I don't know if I should put that on the screen. Oh no, it is 5 rounds, Choi. Thank you, Choi.
It is
throwing the Michael Chandler stats at us today. 5 rounds for Chandler and Patty. I don't really know how that changes things, to be honest. I expect.
Has Patty fought a 5-rounder before?
Huh?
Patty hasn't fought 5-rounder before, has he?
Not in the UFC. I think he probably did in Cage Warriors, but because I know he fought for their belt. But yeah, I don't know if that helps him or hurts him, or if both guys will kind of lose gas at the same rate.
Probably. That seems like it might happen, but I still got Patty.
Yeah, I would think so too. I honestly think I can't unsee. Did Francis take a leave from? Oh, that's a great question, from the fire department.
I'm done. Quit. Retired. I was on a leave of absence for 6 months. I went in to reapply for another 6, and the director denied it, so I resigned.
Full-time UFC fighter Francis Marshall right here.
I'm just trained now.
That's the life. That's the life. Let's see. We did answer this, Greg, earlier in the interview. If you want to go back and watch the whole thing, Francis did say somebody reached out to him. Francis has improved a lot for sure ever since going to ATT. Stay there. We hope he stays here too.
Absolutely not leaving.
We like having him here. What were we talking about before I got distracted? I'm sorry. Oh, I can't unsee the Chandler Dustin Poirier fight.
Yeah.
Chandler had great position and then made just like the weirdest decisions, got his back taken and got choked out. Like I think Patty can probably capitalize on Chandler giving him his back or fighting him the way that he fought Charles Oliveira, where he just, like, the dude's supposed to be this credentialed wrestler, got taken down and controlled by a jiu-jitsu guy for 3 rounds, you know?
Yeah, I don't think he's been working on his wrestling too much, probably. I feel like he's just worried about being exciting and having fun fights. Maybe, I mean, he obviously wants to win, but I think he just doesn't, he wants to be that exciting guy. So yeah. I think Patty will go in there, if not submit him, win a 5-round decision.
I can see it. I can see it. All right, Francis, you've been chatting for 32 minutes, so I'm going to let you go. Where can people follow you? Is there anything else you want to say to the people of the MMA community before you go?
Follow me on Instagram, Francis Marshall 1. I think Twitter's like Fran Marshall MMA. I don't really check that a lot. But just closing out, just, you know, it sucks. I feel like I had a great performance, my best fight to date. Felt so good. Had my best performance. Everything was clicking, worked really well. But just come up short, and those are, you know, things out of our control. And that's why we love the sport, because you could do everything right. You could win, you could do phenomenal, and you could still come out with a loss. So that's the wonderful thing about fighting. You never really know. But that's why we love it. So just thanks everyone for the support.
Absolutely. And we love you, Francis. Super, super glad you got to join us this morning. Thank you for your time. We will let you get on out of here. And thank you guys all for joining, chatting in the comments. We appreciate you guys, and we will see you soon.
Sweet. Thanks for having me.